everybody, welcome to Northpointe Plus. This is where we get to break down the talk from Sunday. I have my man Larry here.
Right.
It's our first podcast together.
Yep.
If you have not hung out with Larry, go ask Larry. Just coffee.
Yeah,
He's
there we
a
go.
great guy to hang out with.
There we go.
This is episode 201.
That's right.
200 is where things really, you hit your stride in the podcast.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
It's a great thing to be a part of.
Yep.
But hey, Larry, tell us a little bit about what your talk was this past Sunday.
Well, we're in the middle of a whole series of messages about David and through his life and the different aspects of his life. And today we're talking about the time when David brought the Ark of the Covenant into Jerusalem and how he danced before the Lord. And so it was really the focus today was on worship and how we worship, what's the purpose of worship. That we're to bring glory and to God and bless God because of what our worship is, and how some people are going to react negatively to that.
Yeah,
and not going to appreciate what you do and how you do, and so it's a significant thing. I was talking to a lady after the service and talking about that. I said in the second service about she felt bad because she sings so loud, and I said, well, as long as you don't sing at opera style. You know, when you're trying to show off, you know, but if you're just singing for all you're worth, that's great. And I said, when I was in high school, I was really madly in love with a girl, and she was a Christian, she said, and she went to a different church than I did. Well, I talked her into one Sunday going to church with me, and I can still picture the moment when we're walking out of the front of the church, and I can picture us on the sidewalk. I'm holding her hand. And I could tell something was bothering her. And I said, what's going on? And she looked at me. She said, you embarrassed me. I said, what? She said, you sang so loud. And you know what? God spoke to me and said, she's not the one.
Yeah.
She doesn't get it. She doesn't understand.
Yeah.
And even though she said she's a Christian, and it was painful to break up with her.
Yeah.
But she's not the one. You know, so it's crazy how some people's reaction when you're giving your life to the Lord. For example, how many arguments do couples get in over how much you're going to give to the Lord?
Yeah, that's a big conversation.
You know, let alone let's go to church, and you always like have a fight every Sunday. I don't want to go to church today. Either spouse, and it really is a drag and a pull in a negative way to not really live out your faith and be able to praise the Lord. And David had that with one of his wives, Michal. She was one that didn't get it.
Yeah. And
she was definitely from the seed of Saul, King Saul, because Saul did get it and then he didn't get it, right? Saul was full of the Spirit and then he wasn't full of the Spirit. But he became full of himself. Yeah. So anyway, so that was a long answer to that question. Great. But that's what we were really talking about. That, for example, when we come to church on a Sunday morning, when we look in front of us, is it a stage that's there to bless us or entertain us, or is it a kind of an altar? Yeah. Not like sacrificing anybody, but an altar where we're sacrificing ourselves and offer a sacrifice of praise to the Lord, even when we don't feel like it. And I said second service that we're told that 50% of the people that are there, the church that day, almost didn't come. There was reason why I'm tired, I'm in a bad mood, or God didn't bless me like I thought he should. So 50% of those people that did come almost didn't come because of whatever issue. And so you got to take that focus off of yourself. And sometimes it has to be a sacrifice because you are tired or you are mad at God. You've got to sacrifice that to come and praise God and bless God, right?
Yeah. And worship comes in it comes in all forms.
Yep.
It comes in everything. I talked a little bit about it last week. One of the reasons I love David is because you see all of his emotions still coming in the form of worship. There's still frustration there, but I still trust God. There's anger there, but I trust God. I'm devastated, Lord, but I'm going to trust you. And there's this continuous mindset of, even in the midst of whatever state of mind I'm in or whatever place I'm in life, I'm going to praise you. Yeah. And And that's an important thing for us to understand is worship. It is a decision.
Yeah.
Like just, love is a decision.
Yeah.
And loving God through everything, loving your spouse and your kids through everything,
right.
good, bad,
That's right.
is a decision.
That's right.
And that decision to love is an expression of worship when it's, we're loving because Christ loved us first. And so you get this beautiful image, maybe not beautiful image of
David. Yeah, he's so abandoned. Right.
And you mentioned earlier, your church did not approve of dance.
Right.
I've been in a church, dancing was not allowed. What do you say to people who struggle with that piece? People who were brought up in churches like that, or maybe they're currently still like, man, you touched a bit about it.
Yeah, well, my dad, I'll just say what he said. If it offends, I'm sorry. But I remember when we first asked Dad, my twin brother and I said we wanted to go to a dance. Now, Dad didn't want us to go. He said, I don't want you to go. And he said, and I asked him why. And he said, well, I went to a high school dance once, and I'm quoting him, I happened to dance with a very buxom young lady, and a thought came into my mind that shouldn't be there. And so I vowed I'd never dance again. He said, I don't want that to happen to you. And that's a good thing as a dad. But he said, if you want to go, just understand that it can lead. That's why I said it can lead to things. So beware.
Yeah.
And so we went to dances after that, even though Dad didn't like that because of his experience. And it's like there was a time when I went to college, you couldn't play cards. Yeah. At a Christian college and any number of things. And it's because of what that meant back to that older crowd. It meant you were not a believer, not a Christian. It's just like the one sermon I said about, I was asked, what are you going to do about kids wearing hats in the class? Oh, yeah. Well, it doesn't mean the same thing today. Yeah. It doesn't mean the same. Now, I think, and there are evils to gambling. Yeah. That's why it become an addiction, right? So there's negative things that happen when you do it. So why not avoid it? Yeah. Right.
I mean, Jesus taught. He gave multiple examples as he spoke to the Pharisees about ways that they had created these man-made laws that were expanded on things that God called us not to do. Right. That oppressed the people. Right. And created a lot of headache and hurt and difficulty. Likewise, we have things today in our culture that we've created that. No, it's not a biblical thing. Right. Some of the rules, don't dance, not biblical. Some of those things, not biblical. But there are people that need some of those restrictions because it can lead. And so I think the wisdom that your dad had with, recognize your tendencies, recognize your weaknesses, recognize the things that you are struggles for you. I think there's benefit in putting some of those things in place. But this was about worship.
That's right.
And I think that's the part within this is, the main piece in your entire sermon was David's worship to God and the view that some people in our circles will struggle with about our worship towards God, our decision and how we follow God. Yeah. People are going to ask the question, why are you doing this?
That's right.
This is embarrassing. This is not easy for me to do.
Right.
So hit a little bit about that, Michael and David. Yeah. It's a unique thing as you watch this wrestling between him and her. Yeah. Mostly her wrestling with David as far as struggling with that. How would you suggest or advice that you would give maybe to couples who do struggle with some of those different ways of how they pursue? How would you help them move towards a place of unity in that?
Well, I would bring in a third person and not to take sides for one side or the other, but possibly a pastor. I think a pastor who would understand where a person is and just sit down and talk about what are the reasons why you wouldn't want to give. Yeah. For example, and if you're giving a tithe or not, what are the reasons? And just have a discussion because when it's a husband and wife, there's loaded words and terms and judging each other and feelings are hurt and so forth. If it's a third person, sometimes we're on our better behavior.
Yeah.
And we can actually put it more on not an emotional level, but on a more spiritual or even intellectual level, so we can have a discussion. I think that would be super important to do, is to bring in a third party, and that might be hard to do, you know. But it's tough. On a little bit side issue, I had a wife come to me when I was a pastor of a church in Grand Rapids, and she said, my husband's hooked on pornography. Can you talk to him about it? And I said, does he want to talk about it? Oh, no, he doesn't know I'm talking to you. I said, do you know what's going to happen if I approach him with this? I said, he's going to be really mad at you, and he will never come to church again.
Yeah. And
she goes, no, that's not going to happen. I said, yes, it is. That will happen. And she insisted I do. So I went, and I was trying to be as diplomatic. I was against my better judgment. I should have just said, but I said something about it. His face turned 20 shades of red, and he turned and walked right away from me. I didn't have a conversation. I never saw him again. I tried to call him. He wouldn't answer my calls. But there are certain things between husband and wife that shouldn't be shared. He said, I said, let's put it on this other level here, where we both agree to come and talk about this. Not husband's in there really mad, or the wife is really mad, and they just say, I'm trying to come to an understanding here about what this means to live out your faith. And maybe there's an incremental thing that can work, where I don't have to necessarily give 10%. How about if we give 5? Can we agree on that? Any number of different things, but sometimes it's just husband and wife. Then it's who's in control here thing.
Yeah.
And then put a third party who can really help.
Yeah, and I think sometimes there's moments, you hear plenty of stories where there's times where one spouse is not on the same page as the other spouse.
That's right.
Discussion happens, and then pray.
Yeah.
And sometimes you see God soften the heart of the one who's just like really hesitant towards it. Yeah. Other times you see the other side realize or recognize, hey, maybe maybe we weren't supposed to do this.
Right.
And so time is not always a bad thing.
Right.
God lays things on our heart for a reason.
Yep.
Katie and I, we've dabbled with the foster care world for a couple years. It would be interesting if one of us was not on that page. Yeah. And you hear that often with couples on that specific subject. Sometimes maybe it's a not right now, but down the road. And just being able to trust, ultimately God can work.
Yeah.
We're supposed to worship him.
Right.
I love what you said in your sermon about, David loving God more than Michal.
That's right. I mean,
that's crucial in all of our walks.
That's right.
With our friends, with our kids, with our spouses, we need to put God first.
That's right.
That is really hard to do.
That's right.
If we're being completely honest, I had a moment, this is years ago, where I recognized Katie was an idol. When I stopped and I evaluated everything, I would say I probably had Katie above God.
Yeah.
And there needs to be a recognition. We need to be willing to lose everything.
That's right.
If it means getting Christ. And that's a tough pill to swallow.
That's right.
I think David recognized that.
Yeah.
Maybe not always, but at least in this moment, and I think it carries through, he recognized I need God more than anything. And even if it leads to my death, even if it leads to I would take God through that.
Yeah. Well, there's another thing I was thinking about when talking about couples. I gave a negative illustration. Here's a positive one. I had a lady come to me, they're both brand new Christians. I baptized both of them at the church in Kentwood in Grand Rapids. And she came up and she goes, I need to talk to you. I said, what's that? She goes, my husband's no fun anymore. I said, what do you mean? She says, we love to go to dance clubs when we were dating and then married. We love to go out and, have a beer, but go to a dance club and just dance and have fun. Mm-hmm. And he is like forsworn all of that. He's like, he doesn't want to do any of that anymore. In fact, everything that was fun in our relationship, he now no longer does. So I said, let's talk. So I brought him in, and he just had this understanding that when you become a Christian, you don't sin anymore. And I appreciate the effort, but not that that's sin, but that in his mind, he was equating drinking, not drunkenness, but drinking or going to dance club or dancing, that was like sin. and he needs to stop that. And so that really led to an understanding about where he was coming from to her, but also that he saw where she was coming from, and they did go back to having fun in their relationship again. So, but that's what I'm at, a third party, because I was able to help them talk about these things together and move forward on it. So, as an example.
Yeah, it's so hard, for us to, you read passages like this with David, and it's hard to imagine the scene.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is the king of Israel.
There's thousands of people. We're talking 100,000 people.
Yeah,
it's just
they
crazy.
probably think this guy's drunk. He's basically naked, with this weird tune pod.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Dancing around. Ladies, you can chime in on this. I think any spouse would have been a little bit embarrassed of their husband dancing around like this to some extent. And yet, there's something if you've never had a moment where you've been in a worship service or you've experienced the presence of God where you don't want to be anywhere else. Larry, you touched on it in that one worship service where you guys are in the circle and you're just worshiping and worshiping. There's something about when you get to know God on this intimate level, there really is no place you want to be. Nowhere else.
No, that's right.
And so I just want to challenge our viewers, what's holding you back from worshiping God with everything? We all have our list. I've got my list. You have your list. The things that maybe in one moment it doesn't bother me, but other times it might be what my week looks like. It could be finances. It could be a fight that I had with, my kids, with my wife. It could be the list goes on of things that can distract us from worship, like we said at the beginning. But when you come into that setting and you lay it all down, the ability for the Spirit to work and just turn our mindset and our heart set and everything. I was on a missions trip, similar, you talked about your mission trip. I was on this one missions trip. It's a mission trip. None of my students wanted to be on this thing. It was, we got in the car. You're asking everybody hey, what made you want to come? It's mom and dad made me. You're in this. You're this is gonna be a great trip. I'm at the point. I don't want to be on this trip. Y'all are miserable. And we had this moment. First night there, everything's just going awful. It's going so bad. And the guys, we had this thing where we would get together late at night. We'd just talk about stuff, just anything and everything. First night, not much happened with it. The second night, we started doing some mission work. We start chatting, and God's just moving. We're in this area where nobody has cell service. So all my students are just angry because they don't have their cell phones to lean on and different things. And I just remember as everything progressed, there was this moment where a kid from another youth group started to share a little bit of his story, and somebody in our group who took him a lot to get to youth group just got angry about this kid's situation. He's just this is ridiculous. We need to do something about it. And watching this kid you could see the Spirit in him. And he just storms out of the room and comes back and throws a $50 bill on the table. And the rest of the kids in the room start getting up, and they start collecting all this money.
Wow.
This kid had a really hard background. His mom had lost his birth certificate, his social security card. He had no ability to get a job, no ability to get a car. And they're we're going to make sure this kid gets the means. Just like that. And we're talking high school kids, they don't have much.
No.
And as the week progressed, the Spirit just kept moving, and everyone on our trip, guys, girls, were we don't even want to go back home. This is all I ever wanted in life.
Right.
I don't need my phone.
That's right.
I don't need my technology. I just need this God.
That's right.
And
that's wonderful.
It's beautiful. And
it is.
When you've experienced it, you know what that is. And yet, I've talked about this, Moses still had to come down from the mountain.
He did.
And reality hits.
And deal with stuff.
And so you still come back and you realize, I've got, and that mountaintop experience fades.
Right.
what would be some advice to on how do you keep pursuing God after that moment dwindles? Because eventually, the dance and the celebration ends. David still has plenty of things to journey through, wrestle with. What does it look like to keep pursuing God on a high level? I don't know if that's the right way of wording it, but intentionally seeking God after those moments.
Yeah, I think to me, in my life, it's the times when I've taken my eyes off of my relationship with God to my relationship to my problems that I get in trouble.
Yeah.
And I get overwhelmed at times when I take that focus off of Him. Because, yes, those worship times involve your emotions too. It's a wholeness type of thing where that emotional aspect is not there as strong during the week. And then when I take my eyes off of that relationship with God, whether it's an emotional one that it's a high or not, there are times I get overwhelmed by my love of my wife. There are other times not so much. Just being honest.
Yeah.
You get tired of each other and maybe you don't like each other much sometimes. But I think with God, that relationship is the same, but that commitment to God we made that commitment.
Yeah.
It is there forever. But it's when I take my eyes off of my relationship with God to relationship with my problems where I get in trouble.
Yeah.
And then also, do not neglect the assembling of yourselves together. It's in Hebrews. Yes. Do not neglect it. There's a reason. We need that. We need that rejuvenation. We need that power again to get back and right and have our hearts bright with God and to know and be able to look back. I can remember that worship time in India. I remember being at a Promise Keepers in Atlanta, Georgia, where the worship, I was like overcome by the Spirit. I didn't speak in tongues or anything, but it was so I can point to those times and say God was real then.
Oh yeah,
God was real in India. Yeah. God was real when I was in Kenya. So those are great touchstone moments that you hang on to because you felt that presence.
Yeah,
and even in the midst of all your stuff that you got to deal with, you remember that presence.
Yeah,
and so to me, that's the important thing.
Yeah, I think that's one of the beauties of when you read through the Old Testament, you see how often the Israelites put an altar.
That's exactly right.
Different places. Right. You have the 12 stones in the Jordan River. You have all these things, and everything about their celebrations is to remember back on what God has done.
That's right.
And so for us as a church to share our story, even though if people aren't there, it's still really important for others to hear our story.
Absolutely.
Because it's a pillar to say, listen, I've seen God move in my life. And I know some people are like, but I haven't seen that. I want that.
Yeah.
Be patient. Keep pursuing.
Yeah. The thing is, God has done that. You just didn't see it.
Yes.
You didn't acknowledge it.
And I also think He's done it and He may not have acknowledged it, or have you put yourself in a place to let God work in ways that you don't expect. And so go on a mission trip, go serve, go put yourself out there. Because almost when you talk to people about serving and volunteering, they're like, but I don't feel adequate to do this.
Yeah.
Well, none of us are.
No.
I'm not adequate to preach. You're not adequate to preach. We're not adequate to be pastors.
No.
We're not adequate for anything, but because of Christ, we have these gifts that He's given to us, not on our own strength or powers, but because He wants to work in our weaknesses.
Yep.
And so those pillars are crucial in the times that are hard. Because on a flip side, I remember going to a couple of these big conferences that I've been to in the past that have been life-changing, and gone there, and I was bored. Like I just remember just feeling nothing. The songs that you always hit didn't hit, and you sit there and you're like, why am I like this? And so that's where the choice to follow God becomes crucial, because when our emotions aren't there, the mentality of still knowing God is God, and I know that, and even though I'm not there, I know I will get there again. We have those desert times. It was a couple years where I feel like I had this place of just being numb to everything. And there was some hard stuff that had happened in that time.
And there's a phrase. Now, I know this is not relational, but because I've been there, there's a phrase in a song, I think it's by Pink Floyd, I have become comfortably numb. Now, that has to be drug related. But I'm telling you, in my life, I had become comfortably numb meant I wasn't hurting anymore.
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling that anymore. I wasn't depressed anymore. I just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
And I have become comfortably numb. I think there's a lot of people want to get to that place, but in my mind, I knew I couldn't stay there.
Yeah.
God was telling me, yeah, okay, you can't stay there, Larry.
Yeah.
You know, and I had to work at that to get out of that. But there comes a place where you don't want to care anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's a tough time, but you got to work through that. So
and when God brings you out of that, you mentioned it's like it's hard to go to worship and not get teary-eyed.
That's right.
When you watch God bring you out of those things, He becomes so much, even just that much more real, and you've seen the growth in your life, and as a parent, you see the growth in your kids' life, and the people and all around, like friends, that you see their lives have changed, and you can't help but just worship. And so challenge all of you guys out there, keep pursuing, keep worshiping, keep praising, whether life is good, whether it's bad. All we have, all the good things we have are blessings from Him.
That's exactly right.
And it's worth dancing for.
Amen.
And I don't even like dancing. Any last things you'd like to share?
Well, I don't even want to get onto this. There's a phrase I didn't get into because it says, and Michal despised David in her heart.
Yeah.
And when I think about marriages, don't let it get to that place.
Yeah.
Because when you get to that place, it's done.
Yeah.
When you despise your partner in your heart, that is like,
it's a hard place.
That's destructive. That's not only to your spouse, but to you. And I think that's what David saw.
Yeah.
That she despised him. And there's husbands who see that.
Yeah.
You know, and vice versa. I'm not just picking on the wives, but that's a huge thing to watch out for. You stop it before it gets there.
Yeah.
When you start feeling that way, do something about it. Don't let it keep getting to that place.
Yeah.
Do something that's going to stop that.
Yeah, and it's crazy. There's lots of ways to go about it. You know, go on dates, forgive yourself, forgive your spouse.
That's right.
All this stuff, but Scripture's a beautiful thing.
That's right.
It relates on so many
levels.
levels.
It does, absolutely.
And so we hope you learned a lot from this one, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
All right. Goodbye.